Logan, Giselle, Glockter, West, Bayaz, Ardy, the Flatheads. What am I talking about? Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Through the Pages with Dee. So today we're going to be reviewing Joe Abercrombie's The Blade Itself, first book of the First Law series. Now, can I just put this out there? I know very well that this is book one of a story. I know it's a trilogy, but I also know that this is a story, so we have to read the entirety of it to fully understand it. So I just want to put that out there first before I say anything else. But I have only read this book, so I know I've got the other two here, second and third books there, but I do know that it's an entirety of a story, so you won't quite get to grasp with it just by reading the first book. But I did want to jump on and give some sort of review to the first book. So the way I'm going to be doing my reviews from now on is with a point system. So each point that I want to make will get a star, and it's out of 5. So I've got 5 points to make. However, if I feel that I may have been slightly unfair, I will award a bonus point for the cover. So it could end up that we end up with 6 stars, but that will still remain 5. Does that make sense? So, and I also want to add, little self problem, that if you hear my stomach gurgling at any point during this video, I do profusely apologise. I have eaten, but I don't know what's going on. I've sat here now for 20 minutes waiting for it to calm itself down. It still hasn't. So I'm just going to plough on through, because if I don't do it now, I won't have the time. So all that aside, here's my point system and how it's going to work. So firstly, it's going to be in some relevance to the plot. So that means, did the story draw me in? Did I find that there was a plot there? And if there was, did it draw me in? Meaning, was I there? Could I feel what was going on? So that'll get me 1 star. Second star, that will be, did I connect with the characters? So, for instance, did I grow to love? Did I grow to hate? That kind of thing in regards to the characters. 3 points, or 3 stars, will be, did I feel the world building around me? So that will be the world. Could I see it? Could I visualize it? Was the storytelling of such that I could see these buildings or forests or whatever building up around me? 4th star will come from, did I enjoy the written word? So I'm not too sure what prose is. I'm still trying to work that out. I'm not that kind of booktuber just yet, where I understand things such as prose and trope. I don't really understand those. I'm just a reader, so I'm just giving my views. So it'll be about the written word, and it will be, was it easy? Was it flowy? Was I able to just continue to turn pages and still read and enjoy it? Or was there a bit more work involved where I had to pull out a dictionary? Because the language was, I was struggling a little bit with the language. So that'll be the 4th star, will be the written word. 5th star will be, did anything stand out to me? Such as, was the humour in the book? Or was the violence in the book? Such as SA or PA, was there anything like that in the book that stood out to me? To award it the 5th star. The bonus star, as I said, will be about the cover. So that could quite easily bring a book up to 5 stars, but I will only say that a book is 5 stars if it leaves me like this. If I've read it and that is my face at the end of it, then it's a 5-star book. Which is why Malazan, Gardens of the Moon, for me is a 5-star book, because once I'd finished that, I was, right, I need to get onto Amazon or wherever and find Deadhouse Gates. And balls to the food, we can eat what we've got. Do we need to shop? Do we need shopping? I don't think we need shopping. You're all right. I'm all right. We can go with what we've got, yeah? Yeah. Let's get that book. That's a 5-star book for me. So let's just crack on, shall we? So point 1, the plot. Did the book draw me in? Kind of, I suppose, kind of. There isn't a great deal of plot to this first segment, shall we say, of the first law. The only thing that I could get from it was potentially towards the end, as everybody's going their separate ways, and we're kind of finding out that we're after a seed. And we need certain characters to come along in this journey with Bayaz, who is what's called the first of the Magi, meaning therefore he has been around for hundreds of years. He seems to be very powerful, although he may well be losing some elements of his magic. But he's this very powerful Magi, and he needs, or at least he knows he needs, certain members of the characters to come with him on this journey to find the seed. So that's where we're going with that. We've also got to do with the union and the council and the things that are going on there, and some of the underhanded dealings that are going on in relation to the king's taxes. And one of the characters called Glockter, who is an inquisitor, was a hero at one point. Now he's an inquisitor, and he is basically the council's spy, and he is being sent on these little secret shadow missions to go and find who is underhanded, who's doing what, why they're doing it, by the means of torture. Something else that disappointed me in regards to the torture, when this book was described as grimdark, I had an assumption that grimdark meant more violence. I knew it meant hopelessness. I knew it meant there probably wasn't going to be much hope within this book, but I thought it meant more along the lines of we're going to see a lot more violence. So when I read it, I was quite disappointed that there wasn't more violence. So that has probably influenced some of my decision on why I have awarded this book what I have. But that's not to say that that won't change when I read the next two. Because I'm not one for shutting off a book and going, no, that's it. Even though it's a trilogy, that first book was rubbish. Because Robin Hobb's first book in the Farseer trilogy was a bit of a struggle. It was a bit of a task to get through. You didn't feel really like you were getting anywhere. So in regards to plot, maybe you could say there is one, because we seem to be trying to resolve magic. We seem to be trying to get to the bottom of what the corruption is, and there's the wars going on, there's the attacks coming from two sides. So I think there is some element of a plot. So in relation to plot, I gave this half a star, because it's eking towards it, but it's not quite there. So I gave it half. So half a star for plot. Write that down. Secondly, did I connect with the characters? Yes. How can you not? Because this entirety of this book is character based, it's character driven. Even so far as to say that to experience the surroundings that you're in and where you are at what time and what you're looking at, it's using the characters to explain that. It is very, very, very character based. Did I have a favourite? To much people's surprise, it's not Glockter. My favourite character isn't Glockter. When I initially started reading this book, my favourite character was Frost, the particular for Glockter. And I know this book, a lot of people say there's humour in it. Sadly, to some extent, that must have passed me by. I didn't find a great deal of this book humorous. Some parts I did, but not all. Not as much as I think others maybe found the humour in. So I apologise for that, but that's just my take on it. But right at the beginning of the book, when they describe who Frost is and that he's got a half a tongue and he's this big gigantic albino guy, I wanted to hear more about him. I wanted more of Frost. I wanted him to talk more. So we had to work out what it was that he was saying. And the way there was that little bit of, was it sarcasm or was it sort of not fully having the patience to deal with Frost all the time. I wanted more of that back and forth in their conversation, and you don't get any more of it. It seems to just disappear. It's just gone, and I was quite disappointed about that. The other thing in regards to character that I was disappointed about, and I know this is going to rattle some cages, sorry, I could have quite easily have done without as much inner monologue from Glockter. I know, don't chuck your spears or fire your darts or just, let me explain. I lost somewhat of interest in Glockter's inner monologue because there wasn't a pause. I wanted a pause. I wanted some separation from it so then I could be surprised by it again. I didn't feel there was any surprise element. As I was reading, I kept expecting the inner monologue, and therefore it lost its flair to me. It lost its magic because I was just waiting after everything he actually said, for him to then say something in his inner monologue. And it got a little bit sort of, and what now? What now? That's how it came across to me a little bit. So if there would have just been less for me, it would have been more of a surprise. I would have been more of, I would have maybe laughed more. But because it was there all the time, I found it to get quite a little bit monotonous, that it was constantly, he was saying this, but thinking this, saying this, thinking this. And it was a constant, pretty much constant contradiction. He was saying one thing, thinking another, saying one thing, thinking another. And I kind of got a little bit sort of, I was predicting that. It got predictable that that's what he was going to do. And that's sad from my part. So that's why I could have done with a little bit less of that, a little bit less of the predictability. Although those elements involved characters such as Logan, Baez. I know the main are Logan, Glockter, and Giselle. I know they're the mains, but the under characters to those characters, I love the characters. Yeah, overall, love the characters. So that gets a full star from me. Full star. Then we go on to the world building. As I say, that was done through character. You got the occasional hint at the world around you, as into the Agrion, which was I think, if I'm remembering right, it was the university where you had Giselle learning his fencing skills along with Major West, and the other, I think it was a major, I may be wrong there, but the other who was training him. So you got some descriptions there of what that looked like, but it got more descriptive when you got to the House of the Maker, and the doors were opened, and the way the doors were opened, the way that was described was brilliant. And how once you were in there, I kind of had a hint of Labyrinth, where if you went a certain way and you didn't follow Baez, you may well have got lost, and we might not have found you ever again. But yeah, that whole sections of those descriptions, I was completely there. I was completely there. But because the description of world came through character based, where they sat or where they were talking, I didn't fully immerse in certain scenes as to what the surroundings looked like. So on that principle, I gave the world building a half a star. The written word, easy. Yeah, real easy book to read. Decent pace, I thought. Might well be considered as slow for the first book, but I didn't really think so. I thought that there was plenty going on. It was easy, like I say, it was easy enough to read. I didn't need to pull out the old dictionary and be like, what does that word mean? Or I didn't need to pause for dialects between characters and have a think about, okay, so that's kind of Old English. How would they speak that now? I didn't need to do anything like that. So that was absolutely fine. So the written word for me, a full star, because I found it fine. And was there anything that stood out as into humour, violence, etc.? as I say, it wasn't overly gratuitous with the violence. I was hoping it was going to be. When it started going into the tale of Glockter being a person who performs torture, who has been tortured, I was slightly disappointed that there wasn't more. Call me a psychopath if you want. I do like violence. I do like horror. Things like that don't put me off. If anything, they just draw me in. So, yeah, I was a little bit disappointed that there wasn't more. However, I will say this. Potentially within this story, if there would have been more of that, it may well have spoiled it. What do you mean by that, Dee? I'll explain. If Joe Abercrombie would have gone into the realms of overly explaining the torture, I think he would have made it too fantastical. He would have made it too unbelievable, because what he has managed to do is keep this quite real. He's managed to keep the reactions quite real. He's managed to keep the tempo of what people do to a real pace. It just would have spoiled it. It would have, like I said, made it too elaborate, too fantastical. I think nothing really goes into that much detail. There's detail enough, but nothing goes into that much detail. Even at the point with the cutting off of fingers, it's done in such a way that you're focusing more on the character behaviour than you are in the actual act. And even though I wanted more, because I was under this illusion of what grimdark is, I actually appreciated that that wasn't overly done. So that's a good point there. So yeah, and when it came to a situation between West and his sister Ardy, which kind of, in a way, doesn't really, does it involve him? Well, anyway, they have this situation with PA, physical abuse, and it's pretty full on. It's pretty full on. What West actually does to Ardy is pretty full on. There's no two ways about that. It's pretty violent. It could have got worse. It could have got a hell of a lot worse. But it also goes into explaining their pasts with their father. And it kind of gives you an insight as to his reaction or his temper and her reaction to what's been done. I don't think I'm going to go much further into that than that, because if you haven't read Joe Abercrombie, I don't really want to spoil this right now. But what I will do is, after I've done my point system and my stars, I may want to carry on talking, so I may well do some spoilers. So you have been warned. I will give another shout out, but you have been warned. So yeah, those elements did stand out to me in the book as, was there those elements? Yes, there was. So the humour violence aspect gets another full star. So as long as I've done my maths correct, we've given half a star to the plot, we've given a full star to the characters, we've given half a star to the world building, and we've given a full star to violence, humour, etc. So that then, to me, comes as 3.5 stars. 1, 2. Oh no, 3. Sorry, 1, 2, 3. That's 3. The cover. Bonus round. Cover. I like this cover. It sort of gives you some insight. It doesn't show characters or anything like that, but it gives you insight to the dirty, dark, rotten kind of parchment here. That, yeah, and blood splatters. That this, yeah, it's got some stuff in it. So I like this cover. So this cover gets 3/4 of a star for me. It's not fully like wowzers, but it gets 3/4 of a star. And would that cover, if I was in Waterstones or if I was in the works, because I am from England, presume you've all gathered that. If I was in Waterstones or the works, would that cover draw me in? Yes, it would. Not like some would, but yeah, I'd look at that and think, ooh, I think I might want to give that a go. So it gets 3/4. So overall, The Blade itself, Joe Abercrombie, gets 3.75 stars. I don't think that's too bad for a first of a trilogy. I think that's actually quite good. I think I would have put Robin Hobb's first book in the Farseer trilogy around about the same mark. Absolutely. So don't think that that is a bad score. It's not. That's actually a very good score because it's almost a 4, really. It's almost a 4-star book. And when you think about it, if I was to give that straight away 5 stars now, I may well defeat the object, because then how can I say there's anything better? I can't say that. The next book could be better, but I wouldn't be able to say that because I've given that 5. So I'm not demonstrating that they maybe escalate in context and story for me. They get better. I wouldn't be able to say that. So yeah, that's my score for The Blade itself. Just a few points I wanted to make out. I did love the characters in this. I've got to say that actually one of my favourite characters, who I don't think has been spoken about enough, was Longfoot, the navigator. I thoroughly enjoyed him as a character. He gave me pause for thought to think back to Croupe from Gardens of the Moon. Even though he doesn't talk in third person, I still got that kind of comparison to me. That was what that character was like. Pharaoh, she is feisty. Wow, she's feisty. We know why she's feisty. When you read First Law, you'll gather why she's feisty, but she's one kick-ass bitch. But she's also then got some issues, I'd say. She's on quite a vengeance quest, which you can't blame her for, really, given the circumstances. But she's on this vengeance quest. But what I did like is when she met Yulwi, who is another magi, and he tries his best to calm her, to get her to focus maybe a second, to get her to maybe second think exactly what it is that she wants to hurt these people for. And then there's a section where, spoiler now, spoiler, you've been warned, there's a spoiler. He has to leave her with Beaz, and that's the point, is that's where he's taken her to. That's the mission he's been set, to take her to Beaz. And there's this little section that when she gets there, she's clearly grown some trust. She doesn't seem to trust anyone at all. And she's grown some trust for Yulwi. And when he leaves her, there's this moment when they embrace. And she doesn't pull away, and she doesn't fight, and she doesn't want to hit out. She actually takes the hug. And that stuck with me, because for somebody to have come from that kind of life and feel that way, like you have a hatred for the world, and I won't go into details, but I've kind of been that person at some point in my life. To actually put that trust in someone again is a big thing. It's a big thing. So I feel that Joe Abercrombie has a very, very unique way of studying people. I think he's a people watcher. I think he studies, I think he pays attention, and I think he people watches. He's very good at behaviour, very good. And yeah, that moment just stuck with me. And another one that stuck with me, I've put a little marker in the book, because I just wanted to mention this as well. I don't know if I can maybe read it out. It's to do with Logan, Nine Fingers. And it's towards the end of this fight that he's having with Pharaoh against some of the practicals that have been sent from the council or the union, I can't quite remember. And we get sort of an insight as to a little bit more as to who Logan is at this point. And it's kind of the fight or flight within someone. And let me see, it's I've got the right place. No, that's the second one. Just bear with me. Here we go. So, all things come to an end. He couldn't lift the old sword anymore. There was no strength left, nothing. The room was growing blurry. All things come to an end, but some only lie still, forgotten. There was a cold feeling in Logan's stomach, a feeling he hadn't felt for a long time. No, he whispered, I'm free of you. But it was too late, too late. There was blood on him, but that was good. There was always blood. But he was kneeling, and that was wrong. The Bloody Nine kneels to no man. His fingers sought out the cracks between the stones of the fireplace, prising between them like old tree roots, pulling him up. His legs hurt, and he smiled. Pain was the fuel that made the fires burn. Something moved in front of him. Masked men, enemies. Corpses, then. Again, another thing that just caught my attention, because it was as if Logan has gone from death's door to self-preservation and gone whoop, and now another part of him is coming to motion and it's taking over. I don't necessarily think that he's got split personality. I'm not sure, or I don't think that's the scenario. I just think there's maybe something within Logan, maybe to do with the spirits that he can talk to, but there's something that comes to him right at the time that it needs to get him over the line. When he's in that situation, it's there to get him over the line. And yeah, so those are just a few insights into the characters. How I felt. It's a 3.75 from me for The Blade itself. And that's about all I can say. We've done over 25 minutes, and I usually do only 25-minute videos. But yeah, it was good. I kind of enjoyed it. I think I'll enjoy the next two more. So I'm just going to take this as a very, very large, maybe chapter or couple of chapters, and then look forward to getting into the next two to see where the story is going. Other than that, not much more to say. Have yourselves a great day. Please like and subscribe as normal. It's free. It costs nothing. You just go down here. You press the buttons. You press the thumbs. You press the little subscribe. You press the bell, which notify you every time I put a video up. And let's get me to 50. You get me to 50. My birthday is the 1st of April. We can do a live. We'll suss it out. I'm not techie, but we'll suss it out. We can do a live. It'll be fun. Let's do a live on my birthday. Other than that, if you stayed till the end, you're a star. Thank you so much. And still don't know what's coming up on Friday. Even though I've got thoughts in my mind, but you'll see there'll be a video on Friday. Other than that, enjoy your day. And I've been Dee, and this is Through the Pages. It's where I'll see you through the pages.